And welcome back to day 27 of Survivor 50 Seasons in 50 Days. I just finished watching Survivor Blood versus Water. Tyson wins in his third go around in probably the best version of both Blood versus Water and Redemption Island. I'm sure we'll talk all about if that's true or not. My panel for today, so making his return from the first week I was doing this, I believe. I think it's been a few weeks. We've got Michael. Michael, thank you so much for joining. And then making a return from the last time I did this, we have Andy, who, before we went live, I asked Andy if he had seen the new X-Men trailer. And it's crazy because the last time I did this, X-Men season 1 had just finished. So it's been 2 years and we're finally getting a season 2. Andy, thank you so much for joining. And just getting right into it, the concept of Blood versus Water, are we fans of it? Because we get 2 and 3 seasons.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a fun time. I think it is probably, like, of all the random themes they had in this era of themes, probably the one that, like, I think we could see a couple more times of, and we could probably not get tired of it. I think I like it more with all newbies versus having the extra layer of, like, the returning players. And I think the rookies are at a big disadvantage in that way, but it could come back and I wouldn't be mad.
Michael?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a good concept. It gives another reason to bring back returning players. And then we got to see, like, people like Laura, where we've seen her in, like, Laura B, like, we've seen her show up to family visits. So it was cool to see people that we've seen, like, we saw Katie for 2 seconds in Australia. So it was just cool to see people like that come. So I like the concept of it. And it apparently was a hit because, we saw it two seasons later.
We also, there's this, every other time I've done this, there's been Rupert fatigue and there's been Candace fatigue. This time, Rupert fatigue never really kicked in. I don't know why, but, like, and especially because he doesn't outstay his welcome here. He just kind of goes away. I used to say that this is my favorite version of Candace, and by the time we are done today, I will have you guys convinced that this is actually the worst version of Candace, and I think she is bitter at the fact that she can't flip on her tribe like she normally does. But before we get to that, what do we think about the pairings? Because even, like, they bring 2 winners back, and it's not a big deal that we have 2 winners, because I think there are 2 winners that are not in your face. We have Aris, we have Tina, we have people like Kat, who, this is one of those things where it's like we have a lot of One World people coming back, and so Kat, Colton, and Monica Culpepper. I would say the biggest name out of everyone here is probably Rupert, and we deal with him early. Were there any couples, or I guess returnee players, that really stood out as far as, like, I wonder why they are here?
I mean, the obvious answer is Colton. Like, why are we even, like, touching this man with a 10-foot pole on casting again? And no shade to Caleb, rest in peace, but, like, Caleb isn't really particular. Like, when it's a more WTF returnee player, you can see why their loved one maybe was a draw in the casting process. And Colton and Caleb doesn't really feel like the tea to me, but I don't know. This is the weirdest returnee cast ever. Like, all the new fans that started in COVID complaining about, like, 50, the weird, like, you were not in the trenches when we had to sit and watch a cast reveal of, like, okay, Rupert's back and Jervis is here and Monica. Like, it's such a weird group on paper, I feel.
It's probably weirder than the 50 cast.
Yeah.
Like, just, I know there's only 10 that we have to choose from, but, like, of those 10, if you were doing a returnee season, I feel like, okay, I'll throw Rupert in there because he's not America's sweetheart anymore, but he's still beloved by the casual stuff. So Rupert, Tyson, and maybe Jervis because of the season 1 connection. Michael, do you kind of agree, or it's like, okay, I can understand why, I don't know, Kat's here?
Well, I started watching Survivor live during South Pacific, so I haven't been, like, a big Survivor fan at this time. So when I saw 3 people from One World, I was like, okay, at least I know who these people are. But why is it these 3 people, especially with Kat being the best placement out of the 3? So I didn't know, like, Laura Moret at the time. Of course, I knew who, like, Rupert and Tina were. Yeah, but I always wonder why they bring people like Laura back, like Laura Moret. Like maybe they like Sarah, I don't know, but I like the pairings. I think they all worked out. It's not like The Amazing Race where like these people like date for a month and then all of a sudden they're not together anymore. Like, at least most of these people are probably still in contact with each other, maybe besides like Kat and Hayden.
Maybe that's Kat and Hayden. Well, and it's funny you bring up the whole Sierra thing because it's one of those pre-game interview moments that everyone kind of talks about here and there of Jeff's so excited about like, oh, Sierra, she's against gay marriage and all this other stuff. And then we have these people. It's like, that's so cool, Jeff. That's, we could start with it. Literally, she's this teenage mom that hates gay people. It's like, all right, guys, like let's find any other reason to be excited to watch these people play with each other. And there are a lot of reasons. We do get Redemption Island back for the final time. This is a conversation I've had both with Redemption Island proper and South Pacific of when people hate on post-COVID Survivor of like, oh, they don't let the players play. There's this cloud of all these advantages, all these twists. Redemption Island is that because, and Brad Culpepper brings it up a lot during the season where it's like, this is not we vote someone out and then they go out with dirty laundry. This is the dirty laundry stays in the game and we have to work around that now. We also have to work around if someone's going to take their person's spot at Redemption Island. Do you all like the fact that Redemption Island is the twist to a season that's already, we have the twist in the title? Are you cool with Redemption Island being back here? Michael?
Well, I'm never a fan of like Battlebacks, Redemption Island. It wasn't my favorite thing. I think it would have been a lot cooler if people were like just eliminated. Imagine if Rupert just like volunteered to leave and he just never came back or never did a redemption. Like that would just be really funny. Who knows? He might not even volunteered if that was the case. But yeah, I'm not a big fan. I wanted to talk about this later for a certain question I know you're going to ask me. But like, there's a lot of twists within Redemption Island. So like, with these episodes like now being like, it's so funny watching this season with the episodes are only 43 minutes long compared to what they are now. So like Redemption Island is like such a big portion of the episode because there's so many twists within Redemption Island, like the whole switching and everything. So I think they wanted the fans to be very like sympathetic, and I'm sure they wanted someone to switch because that was their whole point.
They knew Rupert was going to switch. Like
they were so excited when Laura was probably the first boot, so they were like, yes, it's gonna work. So, and I'm always like with Redemption Island. So, but
Andy?
I'm so glad.
Yeah, I mean, it is the best version of it, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's, I think, uber successful. I don't know. I just wish they gave them more things to do. Like, say what you want about Edge of Extinction, but they kind of at least crack the code to like give them something to do out there besides at least just like sit around and like whine. Like I would have enjoyed if there had just been more like besides just the duels, like things for them. I mean, the idol twist or giving the idol clue was interesting, but that ultimately kind of blew up in the production team's faces immediately, and you can tell Jeff is so pissed about that the entire time.
It sure did.
He's so like livid whenever he figures out the optimal gameplay immediately. But I mean, it gives us some fun memes and some fun moments, and seeing like Tina randomly be a Redemption Island warrior kind of honestly justifies it for me at the end. Like the end maybe does justify the memes.
Yeah, it's the season of the MILF. Specifically Monica Culpepper, Tina Wesson, and Laura Moret. This is, for me, one of the hottest casts that has ever existed, especially on the female end of things. I don't know why I have this. I have Fuck Candace down 3 times in my notes. I don't know why the first one is there, but we're probably going to talk about all 3 reasons at some point. This season also has a lot of pre-gaming, which kind of leads into our first big twist of the season of, hey, we're going to immediately vote someone out, token sheen style. Obviously, for folks that don't know, Candace and John were late people on the cast, and it kind of seems like that's why she's the first person to go there. Oh, yeah, she's the first person to go there. Do we like this twist? At least, do we like the fact that because we have a 20-person cast, but we're really only playing with 18 people for most of the season.
Like, no. It's not fun to watch that happen, like,
It's awkward.
moment one. Yeah, it's awkward. There's these weird boards. Like, it's just, it's not executed well. At least, like, bring him into tribal and do, like, a fun, like, daytime tribal or have them all vote during day 0 type of thing. Could have made it fun. I don't know. I'm a Candace stan, so we're gonna maybe have some interesting words going on. So it was extra gut wrenching for me to be like, as like a young fan watching the show, I was like, oh my god, Candace is back, thank God. And then I'm like, well, okay, here we go. Immediately flop. But yeah, it's no fun to watch someone go out day one. Let everybody play the game.
Play the game a little bit, yeah. Especially if you're gonna have newbies. It's one of my qualms with Palau. It's like if Palau was an all returnee season, yeah, maybe you can do that. But if it's a newbie, you have to basically speed run your social connections in that day 0 place. But like outside of that, you don't get a chance to actually do anything. You basically get a free vacation, which is cool. But I feel like most people there want to play. Michael, comments?
Yeah, I'm the same way. I'm a huge Big Brother fan, and I can't say when people go home on day 0 or day 1. It's just not fair. Especially like all those returning players, like they all wanted to be there, they all wanted to play, and then it was just like the easy vote outs. You had Laura. I'm still not convinced they voted her out because of Rupert. I still think they could have just voted out the older woman on the tribe. That's just my take on that. And then Candace was newly added, and a lot of people said they didn't know her, even though she had like the Rupert connection. And I think there was one more that I can't think of right. Oh, Tyson. She probably knew him too. Yeah, I'm just not a fan. I just think it was easy. It was just, I don't know if they wanted to shorten the cast because it was 20 people, but I was not a fan.
Tina's big qualm with Rupert leaving is he's a great shelter builder. And in my notes, I just say, no, Tina, he is not. He almost killed Jerry in All-Star, so no, he is not. But we don't get Rupert. We don't get Rupert this season, and it doesn't really affect the returnees tribe because they win the first 4 immunities of the season. But this pre-merge is very much the Brad Culpepper versus the newbies and return versus the Redemption Island people plot. Thoughts on Brad Culpepper 1.0? Because for me, the first time I watched it, I just saw a big white guy who is probably the super macho. I don't like him. Literally every other time I've watched Blood vs. Water, it's like, I feel so horrible for this man. Keeping in mind that, like, in Game Changers, I'm not the biggest fan of him there, but, like, just in a bubble of Blood vs. Water, he does nothing wrong. He's just being, because he's the big macho man, people just kind of put this big-ass target on him. Mm-hmm. Andy, are you a fan of Brad Culpepper 1.0?
I think this is right around when I feel the show loved the archetype of like jock guy getting high on his own supply and like a really fun like pre-merge blindside thing. And so for that story arc, I enjoy it. I think he really is doing the best he can. I think he just keeps Brad's problem on both seasons, I think, is he puts his foot in his mouth all the time and is generally just kind of too enthusiastic and then like immediately knows he did something wrong and is kind of trying to play catch up and do the right thing. But it's just kind of funny that he like randomly is decided as the big bad on his tribe when like Vetus was really running the show. And I think he just kind of, was doing all he could, but he took being a punching bag pretty well. So you kind of have to hand that to him.
He takes a lot of things like a champ this season, and you got to get, even being voted out, it's just like he's just trying to shake everyone's hands. He's trying to wave the white flag at Redemption Island. Michael, thoughts on Brad Culpepper 1.0?
I wouldn't say I was the biggest fan of him, but I can appreciate him as a player because I thought he made the pre-jury very entertaining. Like splitting the tribe and just like all the votes. The John blindside was great. His own blindside was great to watch. Like these were fun. The pre-jury votes, even though they were like the noobs, like it was like really fun vote offs to watch, in my opinion. I did read some of that link you sent me, Coach, and I'm like, oh, they were turning me on Brad's side. Because like, what did he really do?
He really didn't do anything.
like the first part was like, was he the one who really wanted Marissa out? And I'm like, well, yeah, he wasn't the only one who said her name. Because if you think about it, they all loved Katie too. So it was like, it probably wasn't that a hard decision for them. But yeah, I thought he brought entertainment. I do love the good. I hate a sore loser. So when he got voted out, he like, okay. And then he just left and told John and Candace he wasn't mad. So it was short-lived, but I mean, like I said, he made it very entertaining.
Yeah, and we're going to get more into the Brad of it all, dealing with the Redemption Island people in a second. One of the things he says is he doesn't want a weak woman or a John Cochran to win the season. So that probably just lingered with me because, I mean, as much as I'm not a Cochran person, like you put weak woman or Cochran in it, it's like, okay, let's calm our jets here. Go ahead, Michael.
I'm sorry. It was probably the only season he watched with John Cochran, so he just had to throw that in there. But yes.
I know we talked about why is Colton here, and in the premiere, we do end up getting both sides of him. But the first half is I feel like the vulnerable version of him, where he's talking at camp about being gay in the South and all of that. And it's ironic because Laura Moret is one of the people that's really taking care of him. Like, oh well, do you empathize with? Just in the bubble of this scene, do you empathize with Colton? It's all right to say no. Like, it's fine.
I'm gonna say no. And like I said, I'm going based off of a Survivor edit, right, and everything. So like maybe it's like it's not the right call, but yeah, I'm not a Colton fan. To answer that would be my answer for that. But and I think like no one. I just think he was given the second chance, and it didn't go well for him.
Andy?
Yeah, it's just not like, I don't know. It's hard to care. Like I don't know. Like he just doesn't display empathy for almost any other person on his time on the show. Which again, like Michael said, it's an edit. We're getting bits and pieces, obviously, but it's hard to like. It's an odd choice for the show too. It's weird that they're like giving him this like 180 moment and then it gets reversed so quickly, obviously, with how he leaves. So
especially because he quits. Like I'm shocked they put that in there knowing that he quits. I feel like they would just try to bury him and just show straight negative content, because even in the second half of the episode during the paddle portion, he's telling Kat he's gonna hit her with the paddle. He's gonna hit her with the fucking paddle. And Kat, oh hell no. It's more shocking that they put that in the episode, knowing how he leaves 2 episodes. It's very similar to the Nyanka of it all in Nicaragua, where it's like we get a lot of moments of her crying in the shelter, and ultimately, we get to how she leaves the game. And what I said for Nicaragua was, well, because she doesn't get her comeuppance proper in the show, they tried to show her as, oh, let's laugh at her now since we don't get to laugh at her when she gets voted out. I feel like the difference is, obviously, why would we laugh at this situation he's talking about at camp when the comment about Troyzan and his brother being an alt is true, which means we could have had 4 One World people in this season, which is
missed opportunity.
That is it. But we get Troyzan back anyway, so it's fine. I had made a reference earlier on Instagram, and I want to kind of gauge y'all's thoughts on it, because to jump ahead maybe an hour or so with what I think the modern fandom would hate about the season is, I think the modern day fandom would hate that this season is fairly kumbaya from beginning to end. Like it is, like even the jury question, like they're not attacking Laura. I just think Laura's just finally or not Laura, Monica. Monica's just so done that it just kind of feels, but like for the most part, they're having fun during the rock draw, and Colton is not happy about any of it on this tribe, and I think obviously that's one of the reasons that he quits. But me comparing Colton to the modern day fandom, I feel like I'm accurate, because that is one thing that a lot of the modern day fans say they hate about new era survivors. Oh, everyone likes each other. It's like, okay, Colton Cumbie. Is this a fair comparison, or am I just overly bitter at Survivor fans?
That's a good question. I don't know. I guess you can say it like that. I just take what fit. Well, Colton was a player in the game, and I think as a player, you need to not interact. What's the word I'm looking for? You need to like blend in, and he just didn't want to blend in because everyone was being nice. That's just such a cop out of him. That's like a poor excuse for him to be mean to people. Is to say, well, everyone was too kumbaya, and like I don't know. That's an interesting question. Yeah.
Andy?
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't thought about that either, really, about the kumbaya of it. It is fairly like looking at the season from a macro level, it's such a straightforward season of Survivor. Like, it's really like textbook the way that Tyson ends up playing, which I think is something to be appreciated. But yeah, I don't know. I just feel like maybe the culture on the returning group was like this wasn't their first rodeo. They all kind of just got to kind of chill and hang. And I feel like everybody probably just had a layer of familiarity with having someone they knew, like at least there. Like there is like a comfort person for them, even if they're only seeing them at challenges or at Redemption Island or something. So I do think people just kind of in general were more like zen.
Well, and Colton's like, so Colton being upset that people aren't trying to strategize. I have in my notes, this ain't One World, fam. Like you're not going to be able to control these people like you did with the men in One World. And I think that once again, it's just kind of like he just couldn't take the fact that he couldn't immediately get power and start all this drama with Tina for all, like, of all people, Kat, Monica. He's just trying to get everyone riled up, and everyone's so overly kumbaya that there's like, okay, you're clearly a crazy person and we're not going to deal with it. Aris basically tells him, I don't know if you're going to get back in the good graces. Like, I can't tell you that you're not going to be in trouble because you're kind of in trouble. The Redemption Island portion of the game, like we said earlier, it is basically everyone hates Brad Culpepper for reasons. Basically, Candace hates Monica and has decided to take it out on Brad Culpepper. I mentioned yesterday a Mandela effect, because I think that most people think that Candace is the one that says "fuck you, Brad Culpepper." It's not. It's Marissa. Candace is the one that shoots on the bird, which is basically the same thing. The big one that I kind of want to talk about is the one that just so happens to be the one that Colton quits on, where Candace and Brad basically get into it. Monica's starting to break down. John's saying, "Hey, I don't think that Brad is as bad as we're making him out to be." Andy, you're the Candace person. Please defend your girl.
I mean, I think what you alluded to, I think, is true when you were like, she wants to flip on her tribe. I think she just like, she wanted to do something. Like, I think she like she wanted to, this is why the day 0 or day 1 twist sucks. Like, she wanted to play Survivor. And so this is part of the game in general, is you take a kernel of something and you blow it up into something bigger, and you use things as a way to villainize people. Like, that is how you create agency for yourself, is creating like a straw man out of somebody else. And so I think she just is like, this is literally the only thing I can do besides like prep for these challenges where I'm building a bridge and building a puzzle. Like, I'm bored out of my mind, probably. So I think she's just, it's big misplaced anger where she's just frustrated how this is going. Seeing John come back is annoying too for her. I don't know why she's making it into a bigger thing. She obviously only has like Marissa's word to judge it on, but I think it's a combination of all those things. Plus, I would be irked too if I was on Heroes versus Villains and Monica Culpepper voting me out. Would probably irk me too.
Michael, it's almost fine for me, at least, until she starts saying, "Oh, Monica, doing what her husband tells her to do. Brad doesn't care about women, all this other stuff." And I do. Once again, I'm glad that Brad like maintains his composure anyway, during the rest of the season, because it kind of wears on Monica. I know that it's Survivor. You can basically do and say whatever you kind of want. Were you shocked that Candace took it to that level at that point, knowing that she has not interacted with Brad or Monica at all during the season, and she's just passing judgment that this man has control over his wife like this?
Yeah, I mean, she did act like Monica was the only person that voted for her. It was always like Monica voted for me. I'm like, so did everybody else. And correct me if I'm wrong. Candace usually isn't the most. I don't know what's the right word when it comes to yelling. Like I don't remember her yelling in other seasons.
She's
like,
not a yeller. She's a flipper, but she's not a yeller.
She's a flipper, and I know she hated when like John didn't give her the fish, or when Penner didn't give her the fish in one season. But she's usually not like that. And I have to agree with what Andy said. Like she wanted to play the game, and then she gets voted out. What is she supposed to do? Like she gave all her energy in the first round when she was hunting for Rupert and herself. Like she probably had no energy left, and then her husband gets voted out after everyone was like saying that those two were so close. So what else was she supposed to do? Maybe she thought it was fun. It was like maybe she wanted to be the villain after all. So she was like, this is my opportunity.
Because she always was the villain, and she should have never been on the Heroes Tribe. But that was last week. The other part of this redemption island moment, I guess, is the Colton quit, which Jeff makes reference to twice, once here and once in the recap for this episode for the second time Colton quits. Now, I wasn't big on the Survivor internet at that point. Like I didn't even know that was a thing. So I didn't even know that this was kind of out there to begin with, that he may have faked everything in One World. So every time I watch this, it is very, it's like, oh, I if I was watching this in a bubble, I know I keep saying that, but I would be confused because at least in One World, it seemed like it was real. Do y'all buy that Colton quit his first time around?
I think so. I think it's like a pseudo. I don't know if it's a quit. I think it's like it's one of the rare times I think in a medical thing where it kind of maybe was up to Colton. And I feel like we don't usually see on the show those types of interactions where the player opts to stay in, because it's probably not that good TV. But I think it probably was where it really was up to Colton the first time, and then he decided to quit for whatever reason. But I can't see Jeff or like the show choosing to frame it like that, unless that's how the production, I guess, really felt.
Michael?
Yeah, I don't want to defend Colton, but I was always confused by that comment when Jeff said you're quitting again, because he was in control. Like he was, I guess, like he was in so much pain in One World, but he was in control. It's not like he was losing the game. I felt like he was doing well when he was there on One World, so I wouldn't know why he would want to quit at that moment. If that was the case, or maybe he was quitting because he was in so much pain, he just didn't want to do it anymore. Because I know once in a blue moon they'll just ask a player, hey, do you want to stay? And sometimes, obviously they just will say no. So I don't know. I don't want to defend Colton, but I was never convinced it was a full quit.
We get the sumo challenge again. They bring that back for the first time in, I think, 7 seasons. I think since Heroes vs. Villains. I think that might not be true. And I think it's because they want to get the tears out of the audience, because once again, because it's blood versus water, and Sierra voting out her mom aside, I think the main thing that Jeff likes to say this season is RS Vetus. RS Vetus, every single challenge, it's RS Vetus. Hey, you remember when you were kids, and you remember that your brother was on all these drugs, and RS is the athlete and all that. They bring back the sumo challenge for the purpose of getting people to cry, and we do get those, because I think we get it again in San Juan del Sur. It's like, yeah, this is the perfect moment to get people to go after each other and get those tears, get that Emmy. To jump ahead to season 48. Are you guys fans of the sumo challenge? And is there any point during this season where you felt yourself tearing up or outright crying over anything dealing with family members? Michael?
I don't think. No, you go, Michael.
No, you go ahead.
Sumo. I think the sumo is fun. I think, like you said, it's designed for a blood versus water season. I think they love this idea of a true pure, like head to head, its purest form, in a Survivor world. So I think it's in its best, iteration here on a little floating platform in the water. It feels very like Mortal Kombat, video gamey in a fun way. I didn't find myself tearing up. Like I think they wanted to recreate like a loved one moment, moment as much as they could throughout it, but there just wasn't. I don't know. I feel like it never really hit for me the same way that like a true loved one visit does.
Michael.
Yeah, I love the sumo. I love those competitions. I love the one-on-ones. I first started watching the challenge, and that's what they used to do. So I miss those challenges. I don't know why they like got rid of them. And no, I did not cry. That might be my own personal problem that I have to work on in my next few years. But I did not cry. Like I said, I think that, not to bring Australian Survivor, but they did a blood versus water, and I always felt like they do a lot of one-on-ones. And Jeff, or I forgot his name, the host of that, he would always be so excited when a loved one would go against each other. So I think the host just loved bringing it up. I said a lot while I was watching it. Jeff, you're not a family therapist. Stop trying to fix things that no one asked you to fix. Like, I mean, we didn't bring up everyone else's personal relationships besides Vetus and Aris. Like, we don't know if other couples had problems, but it was focused only on that. Like, Jeff had to talk about that. So, yeah.
Before we talk about a phrase that Jervis uses right before the swap, what were our thoughts on Jervis 2.0 as a whole, just from beginning to end? Because I do feel like he's basically the same guy besides the fact that he has a Pagong tattoo now, which is ironic because of what Pagong is to the community. But I understand him being one of the first. Like it's a big deal, and I get that. Jervis 2.0 is, for me, yeah, this is pretty much what I expect. It's very different from Jenna Lewis 2.0, where she came out like firing, was and especially in an era like when she did in season 8. Like the game hadn't changed much, but she was still being very aggressive. And I feel like Jervis in 27, the game has changed a lot, and he's still playing season 1-ish. But I appreciated it. It was an old school vibe that he continues to talk about. Do we have any comments on Jervis 2.0?
I was into it. I agree. I think it was a little old school, but I think he was dialed into the power of a social game. Like you hear it more towards the end, the way that he tries to justify his game a little bit, and it is trying to pull in that social game, bits and bobs that tended to be rewarded a little bit more into the late 20s into the 30s. But I agree with the comment. He was a little bit louder, and I think having Marissa there didn't help him at the beginning. I think the best thing for his game, unfortunately, was Marissa leaving early, because I'm gonna be honest, when the challenge does this stuff too, having a niece, uncle niece is the weirdest relationship to have. You're not gonna convince me that they are true besties the way that we have fiancés and mother daughters here on this show. So I feel like he was close but not close, and felt like this mentorship, protective figure thing that probably wasn't great for his game to have her in there. So it probably worked out well for him that he was able to focus solely on himself from the get-go.
This is how old school Jervis is this season. Do you remember what he calls the merge?
No.
He refers to it as the merger. He refers to it as the merger the first few seasons of the show. It's when we get to the merger, it's oh man, you definitely have not watched since at least season 4. Not in my notes, not since yesterday has a tribe swap been this lopsided. Over the last week, I would even say we had yesterday's in Caramoan, and then we had One World a couple of days before that. Michael did. Was it New? No, wasn't New? I don't know. Was Swap Tribe Tina? Did they have any chance at winning any challenges before we hit the merger?
I will fight and say yes, because in the first one they were really close. But remember, Tina forgot to go and get the fishnet. So like I said, I fall for every edit. But I don't know if they were close. They were at the puzzle. But no, they were. I think Venus even walked into every challenge where they were like, "Oh, we're just gonna lose." And I was a fan of that because I used to hate when they used to divide the buffs based on like gender. So like I like that it was just a free for all. Because it's like, you know, Survivor has a lot to do with luck. But I really do believe they had a chance with the fishnet, because if Tina didn't fuck up with the fishnet, who knows what? Maybe Laura B would have been a winner. You never know.
No. No.
You know.
You should have stopped there. No, it's this is where this midpoint, I guess, these two rounds where we're swapped. This is very much where the Tyson, Jervis, and eventually Monica alliance is really going to, you know, take over. And on the other end, it is very much where Vetus gains some type of power because he is able to escape 2 rounds as they get rid of both Kat for trying to turn on the women, and then Laura for running her mouth and telling Vetus that he was going home. And Vetus, you know, he sits there and says, all I have to do is pull the emotional card with these people while I'm here, and it'll probably work. And it works to perfection, to the point where he wins on a ballot against Shane Powers and other people for Cambodia a few years later. Vetus, you know, I don't think I voted for him to get on Cambodia. To this day, I'm shocked, I guess, that he does beat out some of these other people. I guess him and a couple others. I like him. It's fine. Like, I like Vetus for his role that he plays this season. Are we fans of Vetus?
I think he's kind of. I kind of was into it. Like, I don't know what I think. It was really refreshing to see kind of somebody so transparently be a little slimy, and I kind of like love that he was bringing that energy a little bit into the kumbaya. Like, that kind of is nice to see somebody like so willingly be like, I'm just gonna lean into it. I know what I have to do, and it's always refreshing to see a player really explicitly vocalize their strategy in a confessional and then go out and execute it on it kind of to a T the way he wants to. So I'm kind of into it, and I like, to your point on how he appears in 2.0, like, it's kind of fun to see that coin like flip immediately to then see him kind of like not really learn that people clocked him for it and try to pull the same, you know, stuff again and have it blow up in his face. So like retroactively, I can kind of appreciate it too as like a 1-season wonder.
I think because you brought up slimy and all of that, and this is like, I know Tyson is asked at Final Tribal, do you think you were a villain? I don't think this season has any outright villains. Like, you know, Colton aside, I don't think this is like the story arc of this season is not good versus evil, or like it is very much a fluid-ish. Like the main 3 are still taking out people, but it's a very fluid merge, and to the point where we lose Aris and Vetus. Oh no, we lose Aris and we lose Vetus and Tina in the same episode. So it's not like these other Redemption Island seasons that we had in the past where it's like, okay, and then we're going to do this, and then we're going to have a double boot episode, but like there's no real, and then we'll do this, and it just kind of stays the same until the end. There is a lot going on in the season, to the point that even when it's Aris, Vetus, Tina back to back to back, it's still compelling television. They're going to chase Tina to make sure she doesn't find an idol. You know, there's a food eating challenge in the middle of that, all of that, knowing that Vetus doesn't even make it out of that first or second round. I would say the closest thing would probably be the Coconut Bandits, but that's just them having fun. They're just being goofs, you know, stealing food from everyone. I have Laura Bonham, you poor thing. I understand that, you know, I get that it's a bad move. I do, and it's 100% a bad move. But do you understand where she's coming from, at least, Michael?
You know what? Was it a really big deal that she did that? No, I think what Kat did the round before was worse. I think Kat saying, turning on Monica for no reason. I think things like Tina saying to Monica, well, you'll get fifth, no big deal. Like, I think those things are way worse than what Laura did. I feel like people had to do that in earlier seasons when there was no idols. Like, you know, Laura was there for Rupert. She hasn't played the game before, and so she made a big boo-boo. I don't know why I'm acting like I'm a big Laura fan, because I'm not, but like, I just don't think it was the worst thing to happen. No. Like, it just wasn't. But I also think, like, yeah, Tina and Katie were also close to Vita, so it's like, maybe it was like a toss-up who they wanted to keep. But, you know, I was mentally checking like what were the worst moves of the season, and I don't think that was even close to being number one at all.
She just feels bad. Like, I think she's working on the strategy from like Rupert, no shade. Like she doesn't really have probably a great primer going in, and I think she genuinely like felt for him a little bit, which is a facet of his social game, you know, whether it's slimy or not. Like, he was able to get her to give that up.
Yeah. On the other end, we do have Sierra basically saying before the merger, Sierra does not want her mom back in the game. She understands that if her mom comes back in the game, that kind of screws up her game. That's going to be her storyline until that moment, which we have to talk about at some point. But that is her storyline for, you know, going into this next phase of the game. The other storylines include Tyson and Jervis basically saying, hey, you know what? Aris and Vetus are going to be the biggest threats. Let's make Aris look like King Aris, Sir Aris, all of that. We have Katie just being Katie, just being normal Katie. Hayden and Caleb, you know, have their little duo thing going on. There's a lot of elements going into this merge. It's going to lead to, I feel like, a great back half of the season from beginning to end, starting with the Aris vote out, which is a blindside. Yes, the Vetus and Tina ones, not necessarily, but you start seeing these cracks of what could potentially happen to this big alliance as the season progresses. Monica Culpepper, and we're not going to talk about Final Tribal Monica Culpepper yet, but this is the third day in a row I've had to talk about an older female who gets basically shit on for being emotional. You know, we had Lisa Welchel, Dawn, and now Monica. All three make it to the end, and it seems like a lot of content that other people provide about them is they're paranoid, they cry too much, this, that, and the other. Do y'all appreciate this? Because the alternative is Denise, who, yes, she's an older female, but she's not, and so people give her credit where they don't give these three. Is there merit? Are you a fan of these of this type of archetype? Like, what are your thoughts specifically on Monica? But if you want to bring up Lisa and Dawn, please do, because this has been my story arc the last 3 days of feeling really terrible for these people for, you know, how they're basically treated.
I mean, it's not great. Like, it's just crappy. I don't know. It's not fun to see someone being like dunked on consistently by the edit and by the other players. I don't know. Like, Monica was doing what she knew she could do, which was, you know, connect with everybody how she could, and I can understand the pressure she's feeling. Like, you know, Brad's gone. She kind of flamed out a little earlier in One World. Like, I think she feels like this is like her big shot. So yeah, she's a little paranoid. God forbid a woman's paranoid on Survivor. Like, it seems like it's one of the most stressful experiences ever. Like, so I don't know. It is tough. I think comparing her to Lisa and Dawn is interesting because they do kind of share a lot of the same, you know, DNA, I feel, in terms of how they were treated by their fellow, you know, castmates and the show. But of course I don't love it, but it is, I don't know. The edit just loved to dunk on Monica, which is really unfortunate. You know, like, Monica's got to do what's right for Monica was really kind of the running gag, I feel, in the editing room, unfortunately.
Michael?
It's so funny Andy ended with Monica does for Monica, because that's one of the reasons I couldn't stand her alive during the season. But I think, like, listen, she was being pulled in different directions. She had the Vetus and Tina group say, you know, you're with us. And then she gets the merge, and they're like, well, Monica, we're going to take you to the final 3, not to the final 5. So she is pulled in different directions. And then when she votes the way that is probably the most sensible, she gets yelled at when she gets back to tribal, right? And you know, and then so she's emotional. I just think of Banu from later seasons where when he starts crying and no one wanted to talk to him. I know I shouldn't bring him up too early, but like people don't seem to like people when they cry, and I don't know why. And it's usually like maybe when, because you're talking about Dawn and Lisa, and I'm just like, I couldn't imagine being on an island with Dawn crying every day. Would you? Like I don't think I would. But yeah, I don't know. Like I think she like Andy said, why can't we just cry? But I don't know.
And we're gonna get to what eventually happens there with her. Sierra. So the round. Michael, it is you.
Okay, sorry, I'm mute.
Okay, we've been trying to figure out where the echo was coming from, but all right. Sierra straight up tells, so Laura Moret gets back in the game after dominating Redemption Island, and Sierra basically tells her, hey, yeah, it's probably going to be you. Yeah, you kind of got to go. Just before we get to the Laura vote, Sierra telling Katie, hey, oh no, asking Katie if she has the idol, and Katie's like, yeah, I have it. And Sierra's like, no, you don't, because I have it. And Katie's like, oh, she just folds them. It was just not even going to try to put up a fight. But that's Katie Collins, and I love her. But Sierra and everybody else votes out Laura Moret, yet it's Sierra voted out her mom. I won't say it's Mandela effect. I won't even say it's revisionist history. It's just one of those, why do we make such a big deal out of a unanimous vote? I think the obvious answer is because it's blood versus water, and I can't believe that they did. But why do you think this has lingered on throughout history? Like, this is season 27, we're in 50, and this is still brought up to this day.
It's just the Jeff of it all. Like, Jeff, I think, loves a first ever on the show, and I think this was what they were hoping and dreaming and praying for when they created this cast and this twist and this format. Is seeing somebody vote out their loved one is kind of the dream. I do think yes, it's a unanimous vote, and Sierra had no say in it. It's honestly more cold-hearted that she's openly being like, I hope my mom loses. Like, I think that's even, like, that's honestly crazier than voting her out when there was no, like, reason to. Like, her openly being like, I don't want my mom to have a chance at $1 million. I would rather her not even be on the jury. Like, that, I think, is honestly more calculating, cold-hearted. But I don't know. I think it just is a memeable thing that is what Sierra's, really known for. Even though this is a really good showing for Sierra. I love that moment where she bluffs Katie that you talked about. Like, I really think that is probably like Sierra's best moment across her 3 appearances for me, where it like really shows that she is a little bit quicker than people kind of, I think, give her credit for. And she's really kind of good at pontificating and monologuing about other things, but she is really like good at that interpersonal like trickery that isn't really in every player, I feel.
Tyson straight up says Sierra's smarter than we thought she was. I think around this episode, whenever she tells Tyson about Hayden and Caleb's plan to blindside him at 7. This is where the back half of the season really, comes into shape, because we're going to lose Caleb. We're going to lose Caleb here because Sierra rats out their plan to go after Tyson, and then we get to Russell Ruffle Feathers. The final 6. Just from beginning to end of this episode, it's just one of my favorite episodes of all time, for obviously a lot of reasons. But the I think when Russell Feathers start the final tribal, when tribal starts for Russell Feathers, I think it's like 17 minutes left in the episode. It's a good chunk of the episode. Michael, thoughts on that episode just in general, and is this one of your favorite tribals?
I wouldn't say it's one of my favorite tribals because I'm a huge Katie stan. So the ending of it all was just really upsetting. If you don't mind, Coach, I just want to say one more thing, but that doesn't relate to this question. I'm a huge anti-Sierra with the whole voting out her mom thing. So to answer your last question, I think her like saying that was a move is the dumbest thing ever. I just wanted to get that out there because I just will never understand why.
It is a move from this season because it is Blood versus
It's not
Water.
a great. I know, but I'm just very like. It's like voting with the house. Like she just didn't do much for me.
But so I will defend it because this season is Blood versus Water. Like it is your mom who accepted you even though you were a teenage mom and that type of household. Like that's not shitting on them, but continue.
Sorry, yes. So back to the original question. And it was a good episode. Because I don't think I ever thought she was going to actually flip until the very end. I still wasn't sure she was going to do it. I did love the debate where they were like 1, 2, 3, and 4, and Hayden was like,
just turns to the camera like.
Right. And when Hayden was like, you could be 1, 2, and 3, and then the whole back and forth, like you can work with an honest person and not a liar and a liar, and the jury's like laughing at Jervis talking. So yeah. Yeah. But it was fun to watch. Like you said, it was a really long one. But like I said, the sad result of it all was like Katie drew the rock. So I can't say it was one of my favorites.
The other thing with it is that that Tyson has an idol and he knows there's at least a possibility that Sierra might flip here. Like even if it's a very small chance that Sierra, that if she flips, you might have to go to rocks. Why not play it here? It works out for him, but like this could end up in a situation similar to Heroes vs. Villains, where he votes himself out there. Where in this situation, it's like he's getting rocked out with an idol in his pocket at Final 6, knowing that you don't like the odds are not the best for anyone kind of there. Andy, is it Russell or Ruffle Feathers?
It's Ruffle. I think that's pretty locked in for me. I don't know. I do love this tribal. I kind of forget about it every time. I don't know why. In my mind, like the Millennials versus Gen X rock draw is like the true resurgence of the rock draw. I think just having the Redemption Island, like I always forget about it here for some reason, but it is a really entertaining. I love like a live tribal in the sense that it's not a live vote, but you can tell it's actually people like debating and fighting, and there's actual stakes to the arguments being made. To your point about the idol, Tyson played his idol the round before, another idol the round before, right? Did he play it at 7 as well?
Yeah, he played another one the round before. Then he plays, or he doesn't play it here, but he plays it at 5.
Yeah. I wonder if that was because he just didn't want to like twice in a row play but he plays one at 5 anyway, so it's kind of stupid, but I guess he plays it for Jervis. But I don't know. I don't really know why he holds on to it, but he's kind of just like delusional enough to know he'll like win out on he probably was like, what, I'm gonna like fight against like Tina and
the Mom Squad who are running shit. Like they from beginning to end, they just run it. And like I said, this is the MILF season. Especially Lormaret is like perfect example of Island Hot and also real life hot, but like especially Island Hot. We go to rocks, which is something that has been a dark cloud basically over every season since season 4 of everyone is actively trying to avoid. John Cochran, I don't want my game as a super fan. I don't want my game to end by drawing a rock. And we see it a lot over the last however many seasons that is. But we finally end up in a spot where it's like, you know what? Fuck it. We're just going to do it and we're going to see what happens. As you were watching this, Michael, for the first time, what's best? I know it's easy for you to say, oh yeah, Katie Collins stays, but what is the best case scenario for you as an audience member, or as you, a personal audience member?
Tyson to pull the rock. That would have just been really funny to me because I think It would have just changed the game altogether. You know, it'd be like interesting because everyone was saying like, "Oh, Tyson's in control," and then for the person to be in control to get the rock would have been great. And then I'm trying to think what happens. What would happen after that? I guess the newbies would stay together. Who knows? They always voted for Sarah when they wanted to anyway. But then you really would have like Monica and Jervis like kind of thinking for themselves because like, what do they do in that scenario? Because they were really never at the bottom. So it's like you never saw them really fight to get up top. So it would have been really fun to see Tyson go home with an idol. It'd be interesting to see if he was if he was able to bring the idol back if he won. But I think Tina would have maybe won. Maybe Tina still would have beat him in Redemption. So we'll never know, I guess.
What I paid attention to this time was the fact that the episodes, like Tyson finds the idol in this episode, and he has this confessional where he says basically, "I'm just afraid that it's going to be the rug's going to be pulled from under me and all this other stuff." And it's like, wow, if I didn't know how this was going to turn out, I would think this is one of those foreshadowing moments of Tyson's going to get rocked out of the game, because he is sitting here saying, "Yeah, I didn't come here this time because of this. Like, I'm afraid that this is going to happen because I'm this close." And when you go to Rocks, if you show this person to a person that's never seen the season before and they know how to read cues, they think Tyson's going to go home here. But, you know, ultimately, Katie Collins draws the rock, big moves, ballsy, and then that's your little seat over there, which we're going to kind of get a call back to at Final Tribal. Katie goes out. Sierra tries to tell Monica, "Hey, these people have been talking wild shit about you. Do something about it." Tina gets back in the game and says, "Monica, these people are talking wild shit about you. Everyone's talking about our Redemption Island, that Tyson and Jervis are basically, out here, saying mad shit." And Monica, she's out here playing for money, and it does work for her because she still gets to the end. Like, and that's what I have always appreciated about her, is like she did stick to her guns. She still gets second place. So it's not like I'd be hard pressed to find a situation where she could get to the end with almost anyone else, because everyone else is going to look at her as the challenge threat. If they get rid of Tyson, everyone's going to look at her as like, well, Monica's winning all these challenges, we got to get rid of her. So I do think that she put herself in the best spot. It's just that the jury wasn't as empathetic towards certain things, or they thought Tyson played better. Andy, is there a point in this season where you think Monica could have realistically flipped and it would have worked to her advantage?
That's a good question. It's hard because, like, watching it back, like a second time, like you see where she's coming from, because nobody is bringing her this information proactively. It is always, people only are bringing this info to her when they are on the bottom and they need her. So I can see why she's like, okay, you're either exaggerating or making this up. Like, I'd rather, stick with the devil I know versus the devil I don't. I don't know. I mean, I do think, like, honestly, she could have always flipped. And I don't know. Tyson has the idol at 5, so he's not really doing anything there. I don't know. And I guess, like, I default to, like, she could maybe pull off flipping at like 7, I suppose, and like broken it up. But like she is, like, to your point with immunities, like kind of sitting pretty for a 4th place boot, really, at that point. Like, she really was well insulated with Jervis and Tyson. So I can see where she's coming from. I don't know. I think it's hard to know. If she had known somehow that Tina was coming back in, I think maybe she would have rethought and, like, known when to. But she didn't know that. And then once Tina's back in at 5, it's kind of like, oh, I don't know. I think that would have been her only really true opportunity to maybe then win out and be fine. But even then, it requires, like, a lot of, like, luck of beating Tyson at 4 immediately.
Yeah. I mean, she wins 4 immunities this season. Yeah, she wins 4 immunities, and Brad Culpepper ends up winning 5 in his season. They both finished second. It's a very cute relationship. Michael, I know you said you said Monica annoyed. I'm not putting words in your mouth, right? You said Monica kind of annoyed you this season.
I'm not a fan of speaking in third person. It was a joke, but I hated when she did the third person. Okay. It was more. I hate when people speak in third person, so it was a lot of that. Yeah,
She
sorry.
was being sweet. It was cute. But I guess my question for you would still be, my question for you is still is just basically the same question I asked Andy. Do you think there is a realistic chance of her still making it to the end with anyone that's not Tyson and Jervis?
And like when you mean?
No, just
Or like
making it to the end. Just is there, and do you think there's any other, let's say from
I guess
7 or 8 on, that she could make it to the end?
So if it's the actual final fight that happens and she takes out Jervis, right? You know, maybe and then Tyson wins final immunity, maybe she could say, hey, why sit in the end with Sierra and Tina and just at least tie it for me. I think there is possible ways. I think maybe in her eyes, she just didn't really want to sit next to Sierra or Tina. And it was just because of her loyalty. I think she wanted to play with Loyal. I think she got herself in a really good position because I think everyone won, even when Sarah and Tina were mean to her and they were like, well, we still want you to vote with us. So she was always going to be in a good spot. But I do think if Jervis gets 5th or Tyson gets 7th, I still think she can get to the end because I don't think people want to take Tina to the end and I don't think they want to take Sarah to the end. And I think people still want to take her to the end.
Yeah,
because
Tina's in the Ozzy spot. Tina's in the Ozzy spot. Tina's in the Matt Elrod spot. Echo.
Sorry, I'm here.
Because of the twist of you can come back in the game, you've now made friends with everyone going on the jury, and as long as maybe Tina doesn't get, Tina would get Beatus's vote. Laura wouldn't get Beatus's vote because he's pissed off that she helps Tina in the challenge. But Tina wins against almost anyone here because she has made these social bonds with these people so that when she does take them out of the game eventually, it's not any type of malice. It's just, hey, I'm trying to get back in the game. It's very interesting that we could live in a world where Tina is the second 2-time winner without ever playing on Winners at War. And ultimately, we do lose Tina here at 4, and we have our final tribal of the dominant alliance of the entire game. Like Andy said, it is very straightforward. From beginning to end, this alliance is never in any type of real trouble, maybe at the rock draw, and that's sort of it. I think that specifically Monica and Tyson do very well at Final Tribal. I feel like Monica, what started to annoy me was it felt like a lot of the jurors were asking her the same question over and over again. I was like, I want you to be vulnerable. I want to talk to you from your heart. And all. I was like, the last person just asked her the same question. Now, what I will say about this jury compared to Philippines and Caramoan is Philippines and Caramoan, they are out here for blood against Dawn and Lisa. They are dragging them through the coals and not taking any prisoners. With Monica, I do feel like even though they were asking the same question, it never felt mean. It never felt like, even Hayden, it's like, Monica, I promise you this is not me trying to do anything. I just kind of want to hear this. Do you feel like the questions were fair? Do you feel like they were coming from a place of bitterness, with specifically the questions towards Monica?
I think I agree with your assessment that they weren't coming out really for blood. I think they were a little more interested in her agency, and that might be because she won challenges. I think as crazy as that is, seeing her be active and prominent in at least one area of the game, I think maybe cued the jury to be like, well, she's doing something right. She's succeeding in this one facet of the game. Let's see where else we can kind of pull some strategy out of. But it isn't there aren't any slam dunks, to your point. There isn't any and why didn't you believe me when I came to you about this? Why didn't you flip da-da-da-da? It's more just wanting to dig deeper a little bit. But I do agree that it was repetitive. It's a lot of the same thing for her. Very one-dimensional.
Michael? Yeah, I don't think there was any mean questions from anyone. I just, for some reason, they all wanted to know Monica and they wanted to get more from her. Monica's just on the emotional side, and that's okay. And I think that's why you get a reaction from her, because like Andy said, it was repetitive. How many times did she need to tell people, I'm more than just my husband and kids? Like, nobody wants to repeat that so many times. So yeah, I thought it was a very fast tribal final tribal council. There wasn't much to it. No one yelled, really, if you think about it. So it was very simple, but I guess that's not a bad thing.
Yeah,
The
no one.
Yeah, the husband and kids thing, sorry to jump back on that. That did make me roll my eyes as I'm like, girl, you're the returning player. Like, Brad is here because of you. Yes, societally, I totally understand why, but that's what the first season, that's what One World was for. That was you pioneering and breaking out and being more than your kind of husband. And so having that be her thing, I get why she leaned on it, because it's blood versus water and they know Brad, so it like isn't abstract to them. But I was like, Monica, honey, like, he's here because of you. You're on the returning, like, you're with the big dogs. You're on the returning player's side. Like, let's own that, I feel.
And I do appreciate, I mean, I'm jumping ahead by a week here, but Brad's speech at Final Tribal, where he's like, when Monica got home, this, that, and the other, and like, I really didn't truly get it until now. And I think that story arc wise, like the two of them as a couple, their survivor story is probably one of my favorites. I do understand why everyone besides Vetus votes for Tyson to win here. I think that Tyson from beginning to end, even with the bad shoulder, is able to take care of business. And this is one of the only seasons where I don't do winners edits or anything like that, but like, this is one of the only seasons where I could tell by the edit that he was going to win, because this is his third time playing. In Tocantins, he's portrayed as a huge dickhead. And here's his villains, he's invisible. And in here, we get him crying at least 3 times. Like, we are seeing an emotional side to this character that we have been told is the villain in his first 2 times playing. And now we're seeing someone being vulnerable, playing for someone else. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, I think Tyson is probably going to win this. And Tyson's one of my favorite players post Tocantins. Basically, every time he's played after Tocantins, I've enjoyed him. Thoughts on the Tyson win, and based off of what we see in the bubble of 13, 14 episodes, would you have voted that way? Anyone?
I probably would have voted that way. I think perception is key, and I think that everyone was saying that Tyson was leading, whether he was or not. So I think if you're Monica and Gervais, you have to think, okay, should we take him out? And because they never did, I think people just still thought that was the best way to vote, because he was a good troll. I think he's a good winner. I like that he comes back for a third time. And like I said, I didn't know him from his other 2 seasons when I watched him. I might have known that he had that like stupid move in Heroes versus Villains, but I really didn't know him. But it seemed like he was very hungry for the win. Like, he wanted it. He came back. He wasn't just here. Like, I don't think Rachel was a fan of the show. So it's like, he didn't come back for her. He didn't come for her. He came for himself, and he wanted to win. And I think that even in Winners at War, he still plays a very aggressive, like, I want to win game. So I'm not, yeah, it was, I think it was third time's the charm for him, for sure.
Andy?
Yeah, I would agree with a lot of that. I think he really had his finger on the pulse for a lot of things and was able to kind of make a lot of people feel comfortable coming to him for whatever reason. It is interesting. It kind of is like a parallel to how Brad became the de facto like runner of the rookies, is because everybody is talking about how big Brad's game is. And then even if, you can argue that how much it was divvied up between Tyson, Gervais, or Monica, how much their alliance had power, who was bringing in what, the fact that everybody was saying Tyson's running it, that makes it true. Like, whether that is the reality of it or not, maybe Monica was bringing in more info or whatnot, but it does just seem like you never even see him break a sweat. And that to me is also, I think, part of like voting for a winner, is like who really kind of like stayed calm, held on, studied the ship, and like didn't deviate from the plan at any given point. And I think he did that the best out of the final three for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say that I would have been in between Monica and Tyson as far as who I would have. I'm more shocked that Monica didn't get at least one or two other votes, because it did seem like what she was saying was resonating with a lot of the people. But like I said, it just kind of feels like they ended up just voting for who they thought played the best in a season where, like both of y'all said, there were no jurors trying to like wag their dicks in front of the camera and like show up everyone. Like they are just out there asking questions, and that's it. And I think that's why I love this season so much, is it is kumbaya with great gameplay to the point where like we don't need people to be angry, because they, why would we be angry at any of the three of you? We could be angry at you, Jervis, because of how you acted early in the game. We're really not. We could be mad at you, Monica, for not flipping on these two, but like you're here and we're not. Tyson, Katie calls him out on the one thing that he did seem like he felt bad for, but she did it in her own little Katie Collins way, so it never came off as an attack. It's not the perfect season, but for me, through 27 seasons, this is number 4 for me. Yeah, Blood versus Water has always been my comfort season, and I think that this time around it's like really, I'd be shocked if it doesn't finish in my top 10, because I just really enjoyed watching it today, probably more than I've ever enjoyed watching the season, and that's a lot of times. I go through a lot of rough patches. Anyway, last 2 questions. 1, who would your ally be this season?
I think I said it before. I mean, I love how Sierra plays. Like, I really do love, I think, like, someone who's a little scrappy, someone who is unabashedly, like, playing the middle. I do think I don't know, I think it would have been fun to kind of, like, key out with her a little bit. And I could give her that, like, storyline of, like, finally accepting a gay person for once in her life, which I think would be for her, like, personal development, maybe. So probably Sierra.
Okay. Michael?
Oh my god, that's such a good question. I don't care. I'm gonna go with Katie and Tina. I'm gonna use the mother-daughter duo. I think I love the both sides of the spectrum. You have someone like Tina who really, really, really cares and will do anything. As she said when Laura asked her to give her up the final immunity or the final redemption, Tina was like, "This is $1 million game." So I want to work with someone who's that loyal or that serious, and then you have someone a little unserious like Katie who's there for the fun. So I want to mixture both of them as an ally.
You stole my answers, because mine are also Tina and Katie. And Laura, because like I said, I just want to look at all of them. And then final question. Something that the modern day fandom would not like about Survivor Blood versus Water. I already answered. I think the fandom would hate the fact that everyone gets along, because apparently we need people fighting all the time for something to be good. Michael, you can go first.
I kind of said this already, but my answer to this question was the twist within the twist, and that was the Redemption Island twist. They very game botted or meta it when they got to Redemption. I hated that every time someone got an idol clue, they threw it out. Like, I totally forgot. Yeah, I was not a fan. I totally forgot about that whole thing until I was rewatching it for this. I totally forgot. And yeah, I don't know. It was too much game thinking for me. So that's my answer. Sorry.
I'm gonna retort to that in a second. I want to hear what Andy has to say first.
I think you alluded to it before, Coach. It's the sob story of it all. That is like the big thing that modern audiences are like, Survivor's horrible now. I roll my eyes when there's a flashback. Da, 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 da. I think like there is like a real allergicness to personal lives from outside the show being discussed. And like, yes, it's built into the partnerships here, but I really do think like people will be like, I don't care about that. I don't care. We only get this many minutes of an episode. We watch them like play the game, even though there probably wasn't much game playing happening because it was such a
So I do agree with you on that. Michael, I do want to go back to, because, and I don't know how I forgot to bring this up. This is one of the last pure seasons of the show, because despite the fact there are 2 idol plays and like they don't really mean anything, they just kind of happen. I loved the fact that they were burning the clues, because I hate advantages and I hate idols. I feel like when I say old school Survivor, I mean 1 through 20, and even then, it's like, okay, we've got this whole idol thing now, and it's kind of taken away from the social aspect of the game. With the what the game initially started at is now it's, oh yeah, whoever has the most idols, or whoever someone says, and it's like, oh man, Tyson, you found 2 idols, and it's like, yeah, he found 2 idols. He didn't do anything with them. He just kind of played them. But the fact that he found them was kind of looked at as like, oh, that's amazing. Like, we should give him the money because he found these idols. We're not plagued by idol mania in this season. And I think this is probably the last time that we aren't plagued by idol mania, because we're going to Cagayan tomorrow and we get super idols back. Thankfully not played the correct way, but we get played it all, but we get super idols back. We get 30. We're ready to get extra votes in a couple of days. We're going to get steal votes in a couple of days. We're going to get remove the jurors next week. That we're just kind of, this is the end. This is the end. I blamed Reynolds yesterday because Reynolds has this confessional where he's like, he finds his second idol and he goes, this is what Survivor's all about. And it's like, well, I hate you. And we're going to get Will Wall and Millennials vs. Gen X talking about his resume. And it's like, what the fuck is a resume? We never had to deal with resumes back in the day. People just won based off of what they said and how the jury perceived it and how they perceived. I don't know. That I just, high horse time, but like I'm so glad to watch them just like, hey, we're not playing with this bullshit this time. We're not going to do it. And ultimately, the winner of the game has 2 idols, so so it doesn't really matter. Andy, were you going to say anything?
Well, no, I just want to say that's a good point. I've never thought about this because it is. I think to Michael's point, on paper, it's such a twisty season, right? Like there's this we're handing the idol clues and things are hidden and but it is such a pure season of Survivor at the end of the day. Even with the rock draw, it doesn't feel like Uber. It doesn't feel like they're weaponizing that. It doesn't feel like anybody's big meta game was I'll force a rock to convince someone to switch. It was literally just numbers be numbers the whole time. Yeah. So I think that is nice. It's ironic that it's on the most WTF casting ever and the weirdest twist ever. And when they're it kind of feels like it is kind of the apex. It's such the tipping point where we just kind of got lucky that the players played the way they did.
So that is going to wrap up Survivor Blood vs. Water. Like I said, we're kind of going into this next era of the show's history, the big moves era. Lord help me, of the show's era, or the show's history. But I'm still excited because we get a fun new cast tomorrow and the next day, and then I have to do Worlds Apart, and it's fine. I'll get through it. And then it's smooth sailing until Island of the Idols. Andy, Michael, thank you both so much for taking the time to do this. It was great. Like I said, I'm looking forward to doing this all day because of how much I was enjoying the season. So I'm glad that we had very varying opinions on a lot of things that happened this season. I'm glad we didn't all come in hive-minded. So thank you both so much. Thank you to everyone that has continued, and we'll continue to tune in both live and the recording. And I think that's everything. So we will see you tomorrow for Survivor Cagayan.